What is going on, you guys? Welcome to my first episode of my track building series on RC Simulation 2.0. I tried this once already. It didn't go that great, so I redid it. One thing I noticed is I'm going to need a little bit more space for the track I'm building. So I had 500 by 500, and what I think I'm going to do is, just to be safe, 800 by 800. I don't think I should need that much, but like I said, just to be safe. I like to lay down the surface that my track's going to be made out of usually, so we're going to lay down a nice dirt. So the first thing I always do is put a scale ruler down, and I'm just trying to figure out, I think over here it'd be, oh, whoops, got a little bit disoriented. I think right about here would be pretty good. So now we got that down. I like to lay down just a little reference kind of points, I guess you'd say. So we're going to take two long tubes and just clone it over. So ideally a track is anywhere from 8 to 11-ish feet, and we're going to make it 10 just for easy reference. Yeah, so now that we have that, there's two ways to go about doing this. You can kind of lay out how you want your track to be and then build the terrain. I would not like a full layout, but you know, lay it down where you want your corners to be and stuff. Or you can kind of build it section by section, which is what I do. So, you know, I'll build my terrain here and then kind of line it and then make a turn or whatever I need to do, and then so forth like that. So that's what I'm going to do. So first thing is I like to set it to smooth when I'm messing with these, so that way you can actually click and, you know, raise something up or down. So we're going to go to, I want a nice little kind of a tabletop-ish type of thing right off the bat. So we're going to go to this little thing right here and then just resize it until we're happy. A little bit bigger. So I like to make it a little bit on each side. You can always cut that off, so don't worry about that. And then when you are actually using the terrain tool, it's a good idea to go straight up and down view. So we're going to set it to raise. The amount should be not too bad right there. And we're gonna make it pretty big. Yeah, that should be pretty good. And then I'm gonna set it back to smooth just so I don't mess it up, because I really don't want to redo this. And then we're gonna make it square, and then usually you want to right here's the edge, and you want to put one little notch up that way. Oh, whoa, no, damn, I forgot to switch over to raise. So we're gonna chop that little bit off there, and now we can raise it up. That way it won't create as much of a little gap between the surfaces. Just a little tip. Since there is a little space there, I'm gonna raise this up a little bit more than I usually would, and it'll level itself out. So I'm going to make sure this is nice and straight by cutting this down, straight down, and then right here, nope, this is the one. Then straight up and down, and going one up on it, and obviously it's on lower, of course it is. And right about there. Yep. So now we can either just smooth it or move on. We're gonna smooth it just real quick. Actually, no, we're gonna move on because we have this width set here. So let's continue with the width that we have. Right after that, I want a little. Let's put a little double in there. This double should be. I'm not quite. Whoop! Wow. Okay, I didn't. let's put a little hump in right after. And that's about the right size-ish. And also, if it doesn't quite match up perfectly like it is here, since the inside of the track's going to be going this way again, I like to cut it off or put the extra part up here instead of on the track. Just a little tip. I think right about there. Yeah, I like that. I think that'll be pretty good. So then we'll smooth it out, and then we'll see what we can do next. I like to use the square tool, a little bit smaller of a one, about that size. And I like to do a pretty heavy smooth when I'm doing this. And I like to try to avoid the edges of the ramp just because it sinks it down just like that. Exactly what I was trying to avoid. So we're going to try to raise it up. Make sure you turn the amount down if you do this, because you will get screwed over pretty quick. Just raise that up a little bit. And then we'll re-smooth it with the squared one instead, because that one doesn't seem to, or you can get a little bit close to the edge without screwing yourself over. So that's not too bad. And then we're going to get over here, square that out. There we go. That's not too bad. Then I will clean up these edges, but I'm going to do it with a different shape. I'm not quite pleased with that, but it'll have to do. So then we're going to take this with a really small one and a really small amount of smooth, and then just barely hit the corners here. That way it doesn't round it out too much, but it's not super just nasty looking like this is right now. And that you may have to hit it a couple times, you know. I'm not too worried about looking perfect, because usually you're trying to avoid the edges anyways, and also it will be getting cut off a little bit on the edge. I don't know how much smoothing that one will need. So let's raise it back up a little bit and then continue smoothing the surface just to get any little impurities out of it, kind of, I guess you could say. Then we're going to round that out just a little bit. And that should be pretty good. And then we're going to put a hard corner on there. So I'll show you what I mean by cutting off the edges. It does narrow the track a little bit, but it also helps it out quite a bit. So let's just clone this. I don't know what the length is here. We might have to adjust here or change it once it gets done. Whoops. So we'll leave it at that, and then we can hit lower. And you're going to be careful because I generally use a pretty aggressive lower setting. So then you start off here and just figure out where it would lower it. That seems like it's getting cut off quite a bit, so I'm just going to quick tap it. As you can see, it just barely cuts off that little bit that you need to show the tube, which is what we're looking for. So I'm just going to stretch these out over to here, then over to here, then over to here. I'm obviously going to make them look a little bit better, but for now I don't really need it to look that good. And then we can go back to chopping it off. Oh wow, that and just quick taps. I mean, if you hold it here for too long, it's really going to chop off like everything you've got. So yeah, there you go, a nice straight little edge there. And you can do it with the other side too. Just don't always do the same setting like you did on this side. Sometimes it'll snap in a different spot, and the other spot will work. But for here, it seems like it's gonna have to work in the same spot. And just to be safe, I'm gonna move a couple pipes over. Oh, we're actually gonna have to cut quite a bit off here. Oh, maybe not. Okay, good, good, good. Like I said, this method does narrow the track up quite a bit, but it also makes it look a lot cleaner. So, I mean, there's an advantage and disadvantage to it, I guess. Okay, yep. Wow, that just seems like it's cutting off so much. Quick tap, just nice little... You don't need to cut off too much, because like I said, it really narrows up the track. And there you go. Nice, clean little tabletop. Or not really a tabletop, but as you can see, it's a little bit rough still. I'm not really happy with that. Wow, shit. That, I forgot I had such an aggressive... Okay, so I think we can fix it. I'm really just not happy with how rough it is right here. But it's something it might just have to be. It adds a little bit of character to the track. Overall, as long as you don't hit the edge, that should be good. So we'll kind of move this. Oh, let's flatten that out. That's gonna bother me. There. Okay. So now we can move on to the first turn. How do I want to go about doing this? So I think the driver stand's gonna be over here. Because if it's not, then the driver stand's gonna be right here, and it's gonna be pretty high up to look over this tabletop. So I think this can be in the back of the track. And then I think we can make the starting line right here, because that'd be pretty unique, because you don't really see too many starting lines in the middle of the track. So let's try that. I'm just gonna move these down. So let's give me a hairpin turn. If I really want to make it look classy, I could just... Which way does this tube face? Okay, we'll do it. We can put this just to make it a little bit better looking visually, and it'll just make this track a little bit more roomy looking, because it'll have that gap there. So we can line that up and just clone this over until it looks pretty good. That's about the best she's gonna get for right now. And then do the same thing. You just clone them all the way down, and you don't want to overlap them too much, because they will create a little bit of a buggy look. So I think 10 cars should easily be able to line up on this. So we're going to put a little turn in, 90 degree. There's a couple ways to go about doing this too. This is one way. It doesn't always line up perfectly, but you can line it up with one of these grid lines. You can hit get the grid on by hitting G, and then you can line the blue one up with another grid line and try to get as close to the middle as you can. And then rotate, and then basically all you do is swap the axes on the grids, and that should be pretty straight. Not quite as straight as I'd like it to be. That seems like it's just tilting it way too... Yeah, what the heck? Okay, so you're gonna have to be a little bit careful. That's why top down is usually the best. It's usually the most honest when you're rotating. There. We'll go with that. And then just move it on over. And you have made yourself a nearly squared corner. It's not always gonna be perfect, but it'll be right there. So then, what's the next part? I kind of had this thought out, but I don't, now that I think about it, I don't really like the plan I had. We need to make this first. It's always important to mark your width in every section, just so you don't make it too narrow in some spots. And we will talk about that in a little bit, in probably the next episode, making things narrow on purpose just to make it a little bit more challenge when you're battling with someone. So same thing as the corner here, we're going to line it up with one, and then we're going to try to line it up with another, which is going to be a little bit hard because the pipe covers it, but that should be decent. Everything doesn't have to be perfect looking, because real RC tracks, they aren't always perfect looking either, and that's kind of how I like them, with the homemade look. So we'll finish this one turn here, and then we will end the episode. Until next time. And I think that should be decent. Yeah, that's not too bad. So basically all you have to do is, well, we'll do this quick and then we'll end the video. So now that you have the track going this way, you're going to need to measure it that way too. So just clone it over and then kind of put it right there. It's basically the same method as I just did before. Line it up, square it up, hit rotate. Except this time it doesn't really, I forgot this one doesn't have those different axes you can line them up on, but I managed to line it up on this line here. It looks pretty straight. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, you guys. RC racing, it's by no means like a perfect sport. So, in my opinion at least. I know some tracks are just beautifully, immaculately perfect. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of that. I don't know. I like things to be a little bit more homemade and rugged looking. So we'll just move this here and then here, and then we can just simply copy or clone this over. So, because that's the nice part about this game, is you can clone stuff so easily over, and it saves you so much time. And then what I like to do here, you can delete these pieces afterwards, but take these two long pipes and just go like that. So now you have this nice squared 90-degree angle. You can line it up with one end and then line it up with the other end, and you have yourself a pretty good looking corner. And we'll delete this one, and then we'll just move the two over. Now I know right now it's not looking like a track. It looks like a jump with a straightaway, and that's all it is. But essentially, what I plan on doing is making it come like this, back around here, back, and then like a hairpin turn here, then a right, and then another right into another kind of straightaway over to here, and then straight here, take a left, hairpin, and then come into a big banking turn. No, actually, I think I'm going to put a surprise right here. So it's going to come in and then back, and then no. It's going to come in, then back, and then hairpin here into this. So it makes sense in my head. Basically, you guys just have to keep watching to see what I'm talking about. It'll all make sense in the end. I will make sure I cover everything I do on this track. So as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, this was Carter. Peace out.